What's up, guys? I am currently here talking to you guys about what's happening with Delta 8 here in Texas because I live in Texas. It is definitely prevalent to me. So I will be bringing in this article so you guys can see exactly what I'm reading. I know a lot of people are like, he's lying about that. I don't know. I don't know what people think, but I just want everybody to know where I'm getting my sources from. So if you look here, it says obviously the title, but what they're essentially trying to do is this. What's up, Marissa? How you doing? What's up, Ninja? This. Once it goes to conference to hash it out, it'll become illegal because they redefined it as total THC like they do in Europe. I don't know if y'all have ever, I'm sure you haven't, but in the European laws, when it comes to THC, the reason why they weren't able to use Delta 8 as a kind of caveat to the normal rule was because they didn't have any differentiation between Delta 8 and Delta 9. So essentially, Texas lawmakers are going to just say all of THC. They're not going to differentiate like it currently is in the House bill. In the House Bill 2593, obviously that's where the loophole for Delta 8 was found originally. But now that they're about to rewrite as they have rewritten these laws, and like they're saying, if it isn't brought up for another discussion, so if the opposite side of things, so I guess in this case it would be state Democrats because it's saying Republican lawmakers. So if state Democrats aren't able, or even Republicans that are pro-cannabis aren't able to come up with a way to stop this, essentially on September 1st, Delta 8 will become illegal in the state of Texas. Which is still a very long time in reality, but it's also, they could also, I mean, the government can do whatever the fuck they want. They can put in memorandum, that say that it's illegal currently, like right now. At least sale is illegal right now and production has to stop. I mean, the government can do whatever they want. Of course, look at this, the latest threat, and I'm wearing my Texas Tech shirt right now too. The latest threat, once again, championed by cannabis nemesis, Senator Charles Perry out of Lubbock. And so based out of Lubbock, that makes sense. They're huge on cotton. They're huge on a lot of other cash crops, to where hemp and things like that are not good for their money. It says Texas will lose up to $51 million in brick and mortar retail sales in 1 year if Delta 8 is banned. And I think that's an understatement. I really do think that's an understatement because I don't think we've seen the height yet. If we're going based off of what we've seen previously, maybe I can agree with you. But I don't think enough people even know about Delta 8 to say that it's $51 million because it's not widely known about. It's known about for cannabis users, people that are in the cannabis space, but it's not known about on the broader spectrum. I guess some good points here is the Delta 8 amendment is going to reduce penalties, though. The bill will reduce the penalty for possession of cannabis concentrates from a felony to a Class B misdemeanor. So that's a good thing, obviously, because I personally have been jammed up with a pen before. Really, it was an empty pen. And with that jam, I was facing 2 years. Good money for a lawyer and things like that can do a lot for you. But if people don't have to deal with that anymore, that's definitely a step in the right direction. But it says Greg Abbott will sign the bill whether or not it includes the Delta 8 amendment, citing broad public support. Greg Abbott's trying to just do anything that he can to get reelected at this point, it seems. He don't give a fuck. Like, he's like, all right, people don't want to have abortions in the state, or we don't feel like people do. Get rid of that shit. People want weed, all right. Oh, y'all don't want Delta 8, all right, get rid of that shit. He's saying anything that can keep him rolling in Austin. So it's interesting because with the state of Texas, it's like we're moving forward. So at least like dabs and stuff like that need to, Greg Abbott, Greg definitely needs to get out of there. And so yeah, he needs to we need to wheel his ass out of Austin. So like I said, we're taking like a lot of steps forward or a couple steps forward, but that means there's still no use of it. Like we're saying, all right, you can expand medical research and now you only get a $500 ticket. But like that's literally now just still figuring out ways for the state to get paid off of being aggressive with people, still giving away $500 tickets. And obviously that's better than felony. But still, like, it's like the state just can't let go of that bullshit, But yeah, it looks like there needs to be some change in Lubbock. Because that dickhead out in Lubbock, he is a big reason why Delta 8 is being made illegal. But the state of Texas is really just in the old ages, I would say, because they're losing out on a lot of money. Like, they're saying $51 million. I think that's under evaluation. That's not even a percentage of what the legal marijuana market could bring the state of Texas, especially in the big cities, really, especially in the small cities, because it would give people a reason to stop in Lubbock. It would give people a reason to stop in some of the middle towns that you pass through if you're traveling across Texas. So I don't see what the downside is. I guess for the state of Texas, they do like imprisoning people that look like me. So that could be a downside for the state because they enjoy putting people in prison. Like that's a long hobby. A hobby of the history of the state of Texas is putting black and brown people in prison. They don't want to do anything more, So, with that being said, that might be one of the downsides for them. But yeah. How so, Rob C? Or what specifically makes you say that? But yeah, Marissa, like we be so focused on like the national elections, we gotta focus on local shit too. We gotta get Greg Abbott out of there for real. For so many different reasons at this point. Like with all the shit he's been doing, if there's not enough people against him, that means people really love that man, or people just don't fucking vote ever. It's just so crazy how the same bill that's to reduce penalties of possession of cannabis, concentrates, vaping, and edibles also makes cannabis illegal in the exact same shit. Yeah, Ninja, I'm hoping it's just, I think they were saying in the state of Texas, that class is only punishable by ticket, though. I'm thinking. I agree with you, Opsy, but at the same time, I don't agree with you. I think Houston, Texas is still way closer to red than blue, if I'm being real with you. I think the most blue city in the state is probably Houston. People would say Austin, but Austin is not as blue as people make it seem. Austin is, of the major cities, Austin might be the most red. And some people might disagree with me, but like in the way they actually act socially, it might be the most red. But the aura of the city makes it the most blue. You know what I'm saying?
The colleges.
Yeah, I guess the colleges. But Houston has 6.
No, I'm just saying, like,
That's what makes it seem like it.
That's one reason why it's considered blue.
Yeah.
Those students can vote.
Yeah.
There.
What's up, Blick? How you doing? What's up, Christian? No, Blick, it's the most different place I've ever been because it's so big. It's so encompassing. There's such a rich class of minorities of all different types, Black, Asian, Hispanic. Not many cities have higher, like richer classes. I'm not going to say higher classes, richer classes of all different races of people. So that's why Houston is like that. And yeah, if Matthew McConaughey runs, he could actually win. We're in an era, it's like boxing, you know? Like boxing used to be elite athletes and all this shit. Now we just want to see a celebrity get knocked the fuck out. Like with the election and stuff, now we just want to see a celebrity go into office and do whatever they want to do, you know? It doesn't really matter how and at the same time, he's probably more down to earth. Not probably, he is more down to earth and closer to like what a common man is than most of those politicians too. Blick, yeah. Especially with the dabs. The cards, it kind of depends. Hit us up if you need cards, by the way. But cards, it kind of depends. But the edibles, or the dabs for sure. But like with some of ours, I think it would take less. I guess it all depends on strength. Our edibles like 60 milligrams. So it might take you less, but look, just hit us up because we got edibles, carts, and flour. And they're going to beat any of your local prices. That's just reality. But regardless, guys, I was just coming on here to let you guys know that I don't know what Texas is with. I'm glad, Rob. See, we've literally never gotten a complaint about them. And I can even say, like, with carts, eventually some of them, like, something could happen. You know, the way somebody's battery is, the way the carts, or you can email us, Blick, if you want to as well. I can send you the email. I can put the email in the comments. But we have literally never gotten a complaint with the edibles. Some people, the flour is just not strong enough. In reality, some people really want Delta 9 and they want to get Delta 8 because the price is better. But it's like, no, you need a Delta 9 if that's what the effects you wanted. But with the edibles, no one's ever complained. Blick, we've had like 5 websites, and we just simply cannot. A lot of these companies out here, if I'm being real, like had to lie, or they were CBD companies originally. These banking processors do not like Delta 8 products. They consider it high risk. So it's just difficult. Though obviously they just expire. That's how strikes work. So like if you don't get in trouble for like 3 months, like 9 weeks to 3 months, somewhere in there, depending on what the strike or copyright strike or whatever, then the strikes go away. So like that's just what happened is we hadn't gotten a strike since like that. Our strike from November expired in like I don't know because they also last longer the more strikes you have. So now that we're down to one strike, it's done June 10th, I think. I'm almost tempted to not put a video out on that channel until June 10th. But yeah, so we didn't do anything for it to go away. It just expires eventually. Hopefully they have some type of meeting. They're saying as of press time with 6 days left, they would have. So in 6 days they would need to have some type of conference committee. So it seems like it's not looking good. But hopefully, I don't know if any of you guys remember this or if you were in the industry or paying attention to hemp stuff before, but about a year and a half ago now, Texas did a smokable hemp ban, hemp flower ban, or hemp ban, really. Anything that could immediately be smoked, they put a ban on that. And they got so many lawsuits in a day that, like, they just redacted it, like, took it right back. So, yeah. But Blick, to also add on to that, like, it's just one of the problems dealing with Delta 8 is the banking and stuff like that. Like, in-person banking in the stores, it's easier. But online, a lot of it's tough. It's really tough. And we've been shut down so many times. I wouldn't say lost a lot, but realistically lost about $750 because Square will just like take your money and the people can just like get product and take the money back because it's already high risk and stuff. So we were losing too much money for real for a small business, like small YouTubers. Like $750 isn't a crazy amount for a business, but $750 is still $750, you know? So like that's a month of one of our rents or most of it, you know? So we're kind of just surviving how we can at this point. Appreciate anybody just tuning in. I'm just smoking. I was just this Austin Chronicle article by Kevin Curtin. Want to give him his credit. It's been on the screen, but it came out today, and I read it this morning, and I thought it was interesting how much like give and take is happening with Texas. It's almost like the government is like playing a game with us, you know, like, all right, we'll give you this, but take this away. To where like we're always going to be at like, oh, we'll stay at a stalemate for a while they figure out how to rig the game. Because business is a game and the weed business is no different. The only difference between the weed business and other business is patents won't exist as much. Because you can grow it at home, because it's so specific and everything can change, like the patent part. So like the patenting of medicine, which cannabis being a medicine, it won't be as powerful. So it won't be as top heavy in terms of income. But I won't get into too many economic principles. But yeah, Ron, they are trying to ban it. It actually is looking like as of September 1st, it might be banned. I'm not going to say which way, but just reading this article and from what I've heard in the industry, it's not looking great. They're still fighting it. But even according to this article, it's pretty much saying in the next 6 days, so in the next week, our government would have to meet about that, really that subject specifically, because the rest of the bill is good. A lot of it's redacting or taking away punishments, taking away felonies for like felonies for dabs, edibles. So essentially decriminalizing cannabis in the state of Texas. Like that's a huge bill. But at the same time, they're killing the people who currently make money for cannabis in the state of Texas. So that tells me they're just setting up to rig the game. They're setting up to their constituents being able to be the only players in the weed market when they legalize weed in the next year or two, which they're going to be forced to. I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist, but that's not even a conspiracy. We're watching it in front of our own eyes, and I'm just telling y'all what's happening. They don't want it to be like Oklahoma market. They want it to be like a Florida market, very, very top heavy, to where they only give away a few licenses. It's not available to everybody. Delta 8's killed, competition gone. CBD, not a recreational product. And then let 3 big companies in each major city sell it, make billionaires out of them, keep the people in prison, keep that money going. Like they're trying to figure out how they can make money in each way in their prison industry, stifle hemp enough to where it doesn't take over cotton and paper, but let it go enough to where people think that we're making a change. So it's not really conspiracy because we're watching it happen. I'm just trying to make sure that everybody is like aware of what's happening, because this is the time to where people are going to have to make decisions. Like, even if it became legal in Texas and there were a few dispensaries, like it might just stay like Cali, like the Cali market just stay black market, or the people went to dispensaries for a while, then they started hiking up taxes in the state. And then when they hiked up taxes in the state, people went back to the black market. When people go back to the black market, you can still put them in prison. The top heavy people can still make their money in the cannabis market. And the people who own illegal shops, you can still go shut them down whenever you want to, because they don't have the funds to get the appropriate accreditation. So, like, that's just what I'm trying to make people aware of, is like Ron saying, like, it's history in the making. Like, we're watching them rig it in the exact same way it took 100 years for microbreweries to try to start catching up to the Coors and the fucking Bud Lights and the whatever which is like how many the major beer distributors in the US. There's literally like 3. There's like 3 of them. And so everybody else is local. So if they can find a way to do that with weed, keep 2 or 3 people at the top of it, and be 100 years ahead of small business. Like microbreweries started in the 2000s as a popular thing. So when we're talking about local cannabis, imagine if it took till 100 years from now for the local man to make money off of weed again in the state of Texas because of how they rigged the system. That's generations of billionaires or families that just benefit off of stuff that people are still in prison for. Like, people have to understand this stuff. For real. Exactly, Ron. Because they let people do their thing up on the West Coast up there in Portland and Seattle. I haven't been, but I've studied these markets a lot, and you can see it because they just repeat it. They choose how they want to do it. Do we want to let the small business? Some states value small business. Some states don't value small business. Ron, it's like that in Oklahoma. People don't want people to know that, but in Oklahoma, you get zips of exotic like that for crazy cheap. Same quality, same genetics, better genetics even, because it's smaller batches. So even better genetics. And an eighth, you'll be able to find that eighth for $20 in Oklahoma. I'm trying to tell people, like, it's a game that some of these states are playing, and it's not really red or blue as much. It's just corrupt or not, a little bit less corrupt, because Oklahoma is a very red state and they're doing it correctly. It's not a red or blue issue. Red or blue are both corrupt depending on where you're at. So I'll get off my soapbox some, but I'm just trying to make everybody aware of what's happening, because this is what's happening. They're rigging the game. They're doing the exact same thing people in alcohol did. But it's not going to work as well. Alcohol is very, very hard to brew at home. It's not very hard. It's doable, but it's going to taste like shit. Like you can, in a couple crops, you can get some decent weed at home, you know? So that's where they're not accounting for, because those people that made those decisions about alcohol drank. That's the thing. It's like the people that make decisions about women, the people that make decisions about weed aren't weed smokers. The people that make decisions about women often aren't women. People that make decisions about black people are never black. Ever. So it's just another case of that, to where people who don't know even what they're talking about. But in weed, it can work to our advantage. We saw that in Delta 8. They made Delta 9 illegal, and then Delta 8 came up because these dickheads in these suits have never even, or they may have tried weed back in college, but they're all fucking 70. So they haven't been in the weed space in 50 years. So they don't understand what's happening. And they made Delta 8 legal because they're idiots. You know? And so in the same way, they're going to slip up again because they don't understand the plant. They're idiots. You know, like there's just no other way. Well, and I have it, but I haven't heard great things about it, to be real. Bet, Blake. Yeah, Marissa, but I don't think it's that anymore. I don't think it's a moral thing anymore, you know? I just don't think they found the next thing that they can lock us up for. I think they're using weed at home. I think they're smoking weed and then doing these laws, you know? I actually think that is happening. Because have y'all ever seen, like, a lot of the biggest anti-LGBTQ, like, people in our government get caught in, like, gay, bi, sex scandals and stuff like that? Like, I don't think it's about morality anymore. I think it's a money thing. I like Delta 8 gummies more than normal gummies, though. Exactly, Marissa, and popping fucking Xannies and shit. Like, that's what they do. That's like what government people do, you know. Nancy Reagan, anti-drug. I know she at home off of Xanny, bottle of wine in. You know? With a cigarette in her mouth. Type shit, Ron. Like, looking down on everybody else. Everybody has their vices. That's really what I've just known as I've realized as I've gotten older. Appreciate it, Blake. Appreciate it. But yeah, like everybody has some type of vice. Even if that's just being mean as fuck. Being an asshole, like that's a vice that just makes that person get a little bit of kick. And I'm starting to think everybody should be able to do their vice as safely as possible, as long as it's not hurting other people. But obviously, there's some caveats in that. But I think more things should be legal than illegal. I think things that will, no matter what in society, happen, there should be a way that, like, those things have to be managed by people that know about them. You know, in the same way weed. People will smoke weed forever. Maybe, Blick. Maybe. I still think it's more of a tool than they actually think it's bad, though. I think they smoke weed. I think they smoke weed. I think it's a tool. Um, uh, a way to transport people from the streets to prison. I think it's just a fast way for that they know everybody loves, you know. It's literally just like anything else. It's like arbitrary. You know, it's just like there's something that everybody loved. They could have chosen anything. Imagine if they had chosen cigarettes. You know, it's just like they just needed a substance to choose that they felt mostly minorities used, which still wasn't even the case. But they were just like, oh, we'll just let the other people go. Like, yeah, Ron, but for me, I just don't think that politicians say what they believe. Like, I hear what y'all are saying based off to me the assumption that politicians, what they say is what they actually believe, and that's not what I think. I don't think politicians say what they believe. I think politicians say what will make them the most money and get them the most votes. Exactly, Ron. Biden wishes his son was smoking weed because his son's a fucking crackhead. But there's a certain weakness in life being too easy. But that's probably what his problem is. But with that being said, yeah, I just don't see weed as being. I don't see them as thinking it's a moral issue anymore. Now that 39 states are medical, we're talking about almost the entire country has medical marijuana. Like, there's no way people are just like blinders on. Like, no, it's only this. There are some stupid people like that, but these government politicians are just like, that's not making me money. That's not making me money. That's not making me money. That is making me money. That is making me money. Anything not making me money, I'm attacking that. That's not going to make me money immediately. And weed's not going to make me money immediately. Yeah, Ron, it's coming. The U.S. always leads all that like radical thought. That's like what U.S. is good for real. I mean, the U.S. is good for a lot of things, but forcing radical thought onto the world is definitely one of those things. And we have like public interest. People don't even talk about like the amount of public interest people we have paying for shit in other countries. So like when weed becomes legal here, these companies here are going to want to make more money overseas because we have the best weed in the world currently. And so when we ship it, or at least the best consistent coming out weed in the world, and so when we want to ship it overseas, we're going to send one of our people, our diplomats over there, and he's going to pay for elections over there. Like the world not that big, and we all speak money. Yeah. Exactly, Ron. It was like 10 million more in the first quarter. Oh my God. Like these alcohol companies sick. Sick. Andrew, yeah. I was talking about this article. I've had this article up. I haven't talked about it in a little bit now, but um it's still legal, but really 6 days from now it's gonna go into law that all THC is illegal, but still decriminalized, just illegal to sell. So that's why I've gone on a 20-minute rant about how Texas is rigging the system because they're trying to steal business away. They're trying to shut down all current business so they can set up for their new legal market that they want to create. Yeah, Canada's leading the way on getting it legalized, but they still can't grow like we can. I'm sure they have great weed out there. Don't get me wrong. But I just think in terms of the science behind everything, California is so advanced. And that their genetics aren't even necessarily the best, but the other things, that's just where Silicon Valley is. Like they do a good job of mixing the technology with weed together. Andrew, I mean, yeah, or with us if you need some. But we actually have like legit like 20 cards left total with of the three flavors that we have left, three terpene flavors we have left, terpene profile, sorry. We won't be selling it for too much longer, but we still have some edibles, flour, and cards. So if anybody doesn't, just stock up. But I'm just doing this to let you guys know what's happening. Texas is trying to rig our system. They're trying to seize control of the cannabis market. I don't exactly know what we can do about it. It seems like they're getting all this in before we even have a chance to vote again, really. But there's some progress being made, but at the same time, they're killing the current market, which is very, very suspect in my opinion. Oh, nice, Andrew. I mean, I'm glad it's been some help, but definitely stock up if you need to. Yeah, I understand abundance run, but it's still not over. The fight's still not over. Still definitely trying to see what we can do. Not me, but the constituents of that side of the pro side are still trying to see it. But like I've said before, they have 6 days to try to get a session together to try to revise that. If not, as of September 1st, it'll become illegal, as they're making weed legal or decriminalized. So I don't know what the hell that means. But I've explained my thoughts on it. So anybody that's kind of getting to the video now, if you want to kind of hear what my take is or my side of not my side, but what I interpret as the current situation, you definitely feel free to rewatch this video. But hopefully the Texas weed market isn't ruined for a long time by some of the laws that they're passing. Oh, that's great, Andrew. That's great to hear. That's great to hear for sure. That's a blessing. And the thing about it, Andrew, I don't know. I think it'll always be able to be shipped. Like, as long as, like, Oklahoma just made it for sure legal. So, like, as long as there's companies that are willing to ship it house to house, I don't know how they'll stop it, you know, as long as it just ships. Like the edibles, for example, like it's candy. Like, I don't know how they would stop the shipping of candy around the country with Delta 8 in it when it's legal and half the states not legal. And like it's untraceable. Like it's to the point to where the government just has to be like, the government has to try to regulate it. It can't. The answer can no longer be legalizing it. It's on too many shelves. It's being shipped to too many homes. It's helping too many people. Just crazy. But I got a grilled pork sandwich in there from Pho Ben. I think I need that. Hopefully things get better rather than worse in the state of Texas, but might have to move somewhere else soon.